4 rookies circled her at lunch. Moments later, they realized she was a Navy SEAL. The mess hall was crowded, noisy with the usual chaos. Trays sliding across tables, silverware clattering, recruits laughing and teasing one another. But at a corner table, she sat alone, calm, almost invisible. A simple coffee, a notebook open, her posture perfect. 4 rookies, brimming with bravado and the confidence only raw recruits have, noticed her. They were looking for a laugh, a moment of dominance, a way to prove themselves to each other. "Hey, look at her," one whispered. "Bet she won't even say a word if we—" Before the sentence finished, they surrounded her table, circling like predators, smirking, teasing, and nudging one another. The mess hall's chatter continued around them, oblivious, except for a few glances toward the brewing tension. She didn't flinch. She didn't look up. She didn't react in any way that would encourage them, but her stillness carried weight. Her calm radiated authority that none of them could place. One of them leaned too close. "You're in our way, rookie," he said, grinning. A 5th recruit glanced over, sensing the atmosphere, and whispered under his breath, "Something about her. I don't know." That was the moment she finally lifted her head. The rookies expected hesitation, fear, maybe a sharp word. What they got instead was a measured, quiet gaze. It was precise, calculating, controlled, and it was the kind of look that can silence 4 young men in a crowded room without a single word. She didn't move yet. She let them feel the weight of her presence first. That pause, that simple, confident posture, it unnerved them more than any shouting or physical threat could. Then she slowly placed her notebook aside, sat up straighter, and allowed a hint of a smile to touch her lips. The rookies exchanged nervous glances. Something had shifted, though they didn't know what. Something about her was different. In seconds, they were about to learn the truth. Because this wasn't just a quiet soldier at a table. This was a Navy SEAL. The rookies were still hovering, unsure. Confidence had begun to fade, replaced by a creeping unease. Every movement she made was precise, placing her coffee cup, flipping a notebook page, adjusting her posture, yet nothing was rushed. Every action whispered control. "Relax, guys," one of them muttered nervously, trying to mask the tension. "She's just another soldier." But it wasn't just any soldier. Her eyes scanned the mess hall casually, but the rookies felt as if she were reading them, their body language, their hesitation, their ego. Each smirk they exchanged faltered. Every attempt to act bigger seemed smaller in her presence. One rookie, bolder than the rest, leaned over her table again. "Move over," he said with forced bravado. That's when it happened. She didn't flinch. She didn't shout. She didn't reach for a weapon. She simply lifted her hand, palm open, just a small gesture toward him, and he froze. It wasn't intimidation. It wasn't anger. It was control. Calm, absolute, unshakable control. Time seemed to stretch. The surrounding recruits glanced over, sensing the shift. A single movement, a subtle posture had changed everything. Then, almost casually, she said, "Step back." Her voice was soft, polite, but it carried weight. The kind of weight that only comes from someone who has been in situations where hesitation is lethal. The bold recruit stumbled back, heart racing, eyes wide. He hadn't realized it yet, but his bravado had been tested and failed. The other 3 circled, glances exchanged, confusion mounting. "Wait, what is she?" whispered one. Her next move answered the question before anyone could speak. She leaned slightly forward, her gaze locking on them individually. Every detail, every hesitation, every nervous twitch, they noticed it now, too late. She was no ordinary soldier. She carried the confidence, the training, the
the presence of someone who had survived more than these rookies could imagine. One rookie muttered under his breath, She's a Navy SEAL." The realization hit all four at once. Their confidence evaporated. Panic replaced bravado. They had circled someone they couldn't possibly challenge. Not here, not now, not ever. And in the quiet of the mess hall, amid the clatter and chatter of unaware recruits, the rookies learned a truth that no book or lecture could teach. Never underestimate experience, skill, and composure. The SEAL didn't move to punish them. She didn't need to. Her presence alone had delivered the lesson. The air shifted. Respect was no longer optional.
The rookies huddled together, glancing nervously at each other. Their bravado had evaporated, replaced with a mix of fear and disbelief. They had circled her, thinking it was a game. Now every instinct screamed danger. She didn't move from her seat. She didn't raise her voice. She simply watched, eyes sharp, calm, assessing. Every twitch of their shoulders, every shallow breath, every nervous glance, she registered it all. "Are you done?" she asked, her voice soft but undeniably firm. The boldest rookie swallowed hard. We didn't know," he stammered. She tilted her head slightly, allowing the words to settle. "You circled me. You tested me. You challenged someone you shouldn't have." The room seemed to shrink around them. Even recruits at other tables noticed the tension, sensing the authority that didn't need to be announced. Then she stood, slowly, deliberately. Her movements were fluid, precise, controlled. She didn't lunge, she didn't attack, yet the rookies instinctively stepped back, the circle breaking as if invisible lines had been drawn around her. The SEAL didn't need words to assert dominance. Her posture, her calm, and her confidence spoke louder than any shout or command. The four rookies realized all at once the mistake they had made. One whispered, barely audible, She's a Navy SEAL." The confirmation settled in their minds like a hammer. Panic replaced arrogance. Every action they had taken now seemed foolish, even reckless. She leaned slightly on the table, looking at each of them in turn. "Respect isn't earned by intimidation. It's earned through discipline, experience, and action," she said quietly. The rookies nodded, hearts racing. They understood now. This was not just a lesson in etiquette or protocol or manners. This was a lesson in survival, authority, and awareness. The general returned to her notebook, taking a calm sip of coffee, as if nothing had happened. The rookies couldn't forget it. Their nervous glances, hesitant movements, and racing thoughts were all proof. A single moment of arrogance had met decades of skill and discipline. Outside the mess hall, whispers spread. The story of the four rookies and the SEAL who didn't flinch would circulate for weeks, maybe months. Because some lessons aren't taught in training exercises. Some lessons are learned in moments that test your ego against true experience. By the next day, the story of the mess hall incident had spread across the base. Whispers turned into conversations, and conversations into lessons for every recruit who had witnessed or heard about it. The four rookies were careful now. Their confidence, once bold and brash, had been tempered by reality. Every movement, every word, every glance was measured. The lesson had sunk in. Authority is earned through skill and presence, not by intimidation or numbers. The SEAL, sitting quietly at her corner table once again, continued her routine. She corrected forms, reviewed reports, and observed the recruits, but her presence alone commanded respect. Every trainee who had underestimated her now instinctively adjusted their behavior, aware that competence carries more weight than ego. A senior officer approached her privately. "Ma'am," he said, voice low, "the mess hall incident, it changed the dynamic. Everyone is noticing. Even officers are more aware now." She nodded, eyes scanning the room. "Good. Leadership isn't about proving dominance. It's about discipline, awareness, and composure. That lesson needed to be felt, not spoken. The 4 rookies eventually approached her, heads lowered, a mix of fear and respect evident in their posture. We understand now, ma'am. Thank you for teaching us." She gave a single brief nod. No words of praise, no ego, just acknowledgement. "Carry it forward. Let this guide your actions, not your fear." Around the base, the ripple effect continued. Recruits and instructors alike began to observe more carefully, act more thoughtfully, and treat authority with the seriousness it demanded. The lesson was clear. Power is not an aggression. Leadership is not an intimidation. Respect is earned through skill, calm, and decisive action. And the 4 rookies had learned the hardest way possible. In the mess hall, amid the clatter of trays and muted chatter, she returned to her coffee and notebook as if nothing had happened, but the echoes of her presence lingered in every corner. This was united war, where lessons are earned in moments of confrontation, and true authority is revealed not by words, but by presence, skill, and composure under pressure. One small lunchroom moment had changed everything. For the rookies, the recruits, and the culture of the base.